What better way to practice the pen tool is to draw real-world symbols or shapes. So I went ahead and downloaded this vector pack from allfreedownload.com. I'm going to be providing a link in this lesson to be able to grab those so you can have these shapes and you can trace along with me so we can practice that pen tool. So I kind of put these in a specific order from kind of easier, what I think would be easy to do, to maybe a little bit more challenging. So we'll go ahead and trace all these, work down to the bottom, and really kind of master not only straight edges, but also getting those curves right, especially with that middle one. It could be a little tricky, so we'll go ahead and trace these and practice that pen tool. So let's go ahead and start with this very first symbol. And I'm going to go ahead and make it black or some other different color so that you can tell the difference between where you're drawing and what is underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the pen tool and go ahead and start tracing this. So these are simple rectangle shapes, so I'm just going to click down here in the corner or whatever corner you'd like to start on. And I'm just going to go ahead and create anchor points on each corner. And I'm going to go back and complete my shape. So I'm going to go right back to that original point and see the little circle. I'm able to close my shape. So I just drew a simple rectangle. We're going to keep going with this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this tool. I'm going to make it a different color so I can tell the difference between the two. I'm going to draw this shape over here. Same thing we just did. You might even be able to copy and paste it and make it simple. So now I'm going to make the connecting shape. I'm going to go down here and make the connecting shape and make that a little bit of a different color. You can always maybe make it darker. That might work well. You're going to have a dark to light kind of movement. So let's go ahead and remove the symbol below. And there's our new one that we created. Very quick and easy with 3 different shapes put together. Okay, so let's move on to a little bit more curves. So there might be a little bit of a shortcut to this one. So we can sit here and take the pen tool and we can click right here in this area. Go all the way. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so I can show you what I'm doing. Maybe click right here and then go ahead and click on this little corner and I can hold and create kind of a rounded shape. Click over here to right where I think the curve starts, click, and then go right down here to where I think the curve ends, click, and go ahead and make my curve. So this is the long way to do it. I'll show you a shortcut in a little bit, but this is good practice. Click and hold, click, and I'm going to go back to complete my shape, hold, and I just made myself a shape. So here's a little bit of a shortcut when you have a perfect square like this. I like to make a square shape or rectangle shape. I'm going to hold down Shift. Go ahead and make it. I can switch it to a stroke if I want to see underneath it and kind of line it up. And then I'm able to create curves. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this little symbol right here. I'm going to click and hold. And it's going to be able to create a curve for me. And what's great is it creates a curve on all 4 corners. But I can also click on this and make it a little less round if I'd like. Or click and hold. And I believe if you have an older version of Illustrator, I believe 2015, I have to go and check the versions, but if you have an older version of Photoshop, you may not have this little nice rounded corner option. But that's just like a little trick if it's a perfect square. So that's the one we did by hand. So let's do this one by hand. So we're going to grab the pen tool. I'm going to click, and I like to click where I think the curve starts so that I can click where I think the curve ends and then be able to make it that way. Go up to the corner, and a lot of times when I'm tracing shapes, I'll flip it to a stroke so it doesn't interfere with me being able to see the shape. I'm going to click where I think the curve ends and then click where I think it ends and just keep going. Click. Or you can also do that other option where you create a square, but see we have this little bit more of a complicated object here, so that's why I'm doing it by hand. If you just had a simple square without any complexities, and you could probably do what I did down there and use that rounded corner tool. Let's go ahead and switch that to a fill. Let's go ahead and sample that color. Looks like it's a gradient. We'll do gradients here in a bit. So now this one's simple. I'm just going to do the shortcut one and do a rectangle tool. And I'm going to do a stroke so I can kind of see. And I can make my stroke a little skinnier. So I'm down here in my stroke panel. I'm going to reduce it to a 0.5 points. So now I can kind of see the definitions of the line a little bit easier. Okay, so now I have my little rounded corner tool. I'm going to click and hold. And just like that, we created that shape. And I'm going to go ahead and get the eyedropper tool and sample that color. So this is the shape that we just created. Shift that over. We don't need the original. And you'll notice, you know, when you do the pen tool, sometimes it's not perfect. You're doing it by hand, sometimes it's not precise. So I notice right here, it seems to get a little bit skinnier, the stroke, and it doesn't look quite as smooth. And that's okay. We could select our object and get our direct selection tool so we could see where our anchor points lie. We can go and click on our anchor point and we can change this handle. Make it a little bit wider and make it fit a little better. Whenever you need more precision in a curve, and we'll probably get to this when we start tracing the more complex shapes, is sometimes it's nice to add an anchor point to give you more precise control. So right now I have an anchor point here, and I have an anchor point here. But I can go down to my pen tool and go down to add an anchor point. So let's say I want to add an anchor point right here in the middle. So now I was able to add more precision because now I have more anchor points to manipulate. So I can go to my direct selection tool and now I have this other point where I can be a little bit more precise. So sometimes when I have curves like that and I can't quite get the angle right, I will add an anchor point and give myself some more precision. And you can do the same thing. You can add anchor points to any point. So if I want to add an anchor point here, I can take my direct selection tool and make like an angle or something. Or make it an arrow. So you can add an anchor point to any point in your shape. You can even go ahead and use that curvature tool. So right down here, double click or shift. There we go. Make kind of a rounded cap. Let's go back to where we had it. I'm going to go ahead and take away those anchor points I added. I think our shape looks great. So there's shape number 2. So we have shape number 1, shape number 2, and I don't like the gap between. That's the original shape, so I'm just going to change that. I just used my keyboard tool to nudge it closer. So this is going to be a fairly simple shape since we've already done a lot of straight edges. This doesn't have any curves, so this will be really easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead, I think, let's do green. That's a different color. And let's do a stroke. So I'm going to do strokes with this so I can see where I'm at with my shapes. So that's 1. Okay, I'm going to go like this. 2. I'm going to continue to repeat this process for as long as I need to complete the shapes. And this could even be a copy and paste situation. Since these are all the same exact size, you could just simply do one point of the star and copy and paste it. So any way you can kind of streamline your process and make it quicker, go ahead and do it. We're just doing it manually just to practice. But you'll do that when you're doing logo design or symbols or UI elements, and you're kind of doing the same thing over and over. I love to copy and paste and rotate just to save myself some time.